Hey everyone, welcome back to the realm. I'm Gina.
I'm Rich.
I'm Jenny.
I'm Rob.
Oh, you're muted, Brian.
Bump, bump. I'm Brian.
Anyway, so today we are talking about the Kentucky Goblin. So just to get a feel, how many of you had ever heard about the Kentucky Goblin before
Saturday?
before we decided?
Not
Anybody?
me.
Nobody?
Not me.
Neither had I. When we were in Daytona earlier this year at that rock festival, our Uber driver told us, like, I told him we had a paranormal podcast, but whatever. I gave him our card. And he was telling me, he's like, oh, did you guys ever talk about the Kentucky Goblins and a couple other things, which I'm not going to reveal now because we got to dig into those. So that'll be coming up. But the Kentucky Goblins, I was like, no, I'd never heard of that. And so I had it on the list and I was just like, oh, I really want to do this story. So the more I looked into it, the more interesting it got. So I'm gonna set the scene for everybody, okay? And then we'll go into a discussion. So let me start off by saying that there are a lot of different like conflicting pieces of information out there, like Wikipedia versus History Channel versus, I mean, this has been written about many times. It has influenced movies. We'll talk about that later. This has been something that I didn't realize, and I'm like, how was this never on my radar? I never heard of this before ever. And I feel like I feel like we would have talked about this if any of us had known about it. So it was really quite interesting that that this was not something we had known before. So I was trying to sew together the best possible story that I could based on what events kind of like matched up the most with how this story went down. So when I say this, when you guys, like, those of you that are listening, when you do your own research, we're going to bring to you many different, I'll actually link in the show notes, like all the places that we had gotten our information from. But just because I'll be quoting so many different things, I'll bring up that I'm using History Channel for this, Wikipedia. There's something called Anderson Design Groups that makes a poster that had a little blurb about the story. WBKO, which is ABC 13 News in Bowling Green, Kentucky. There was a Goblin Con website that I got some information from, and another one called TVI.show. Things Visible and Invisible is this website. So I just want to make sure that I like say all those things so that we can give proper credit and cite the places that I got the information from before I start talking, because I'll be using direct quotes from some of these places when I paint this picture. Okay. So it was a summer night on the night of August 21st, 1955 in Kelly, Kentucky. It's in southwestern Kentucky for those of you that don't know. And on this very night, there was a family that got together to spend some time together and play some games and enjoy life and laugh and, just spend time together. So they're out in a rural area in Kentucky. In fact, by some reports, the house didn't even have like running water, didn't have like a bathroom, anything like that. So there was not like any kind of conveniences. So the reports were they were like playing card games, this, that, and the other. The people that were there was, oh gosh, why can't I find this lady's name? I just had all this stuff right here. Oh, okay. So Glennie Langford was a widow that owned the farmhouse and the property, and she had her children Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary, and then two of her grown sons from her previous marriage, Elmer, who went by Lucky Sutton, and John Charlie or JC Sutton. Their wives were also there, Vera and Aileen. And then Aileen's brother, O.P. Baker, and Billy Ray Taylor and his wife, June. So there's a lot of people here, right? So that's about, I think, 11
We all got
12.
names like the cast of Hee Haw.
I know. And there's a lot of people there, okay? But this all starts when Billy Ray decides he is going to go outside, get some fresh air, and get some water from the well. Remember, there's like no running water. So he goes out and he sees a light anomaly in the sky, kind of like shooting across the sky, something glowing object coming across the sky. He goes inside and he tells everybody about this object that he saw in the sky. And they thought like he was joking or whatever. And here's where some of the details get kind of sketchy between accounts. So at some point they like maybe heard some noise or saw some glowing lights or saw a goblin like peeking in the window. Other reports were he came in and talked about the light, so one of the other guys went outside with him to like check it out. And whenever they went outside, that's when they had seen one of these goblins. And they described them as like 3 feet type monsters with like talons and a large head and large eyes, and that the eyes were glowing. And you can see the pictures that everybody has and like big ears. And that they were just there. Now, by the accounts, these little things weren't attacking them, but their first instinct was, oh my God, I don't know what this is. I need to go get my gun. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
they run
Of
inside,
course.
they get their
Totally
guns.
makes sense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? Right. So you go
What
get
does
your
that
gun.
kill it?
He came outside and started shooting. When the bullets hit these goblins or these creatures, they said it sounded like metal, like a tink of a metal, like it was hitting a can or something. And then one of the bodies fell to the ground, but then kind of raised up. One of the reports was it raised up and kind of floated through the air, almost like ghost like. And they went running back in the house. Or when they were outside, there was one that was above on the eave of the house, or the porch, the roof of the porch or whatever,
Yep.
and had leaned down and had grabbed Billy Ray by his hair. Now I don't know if he had, Billy Ray Cyrus hairdo. I don't know if we're talking about a mullet. I don't know what we're
Mm.
talking about, but he reached down to grab his hair, and they go running back inside. He goes running back inside. So the other guy goes out, and sure enough, he looks up and he sees this creature up there. Okay. So I'm not sure if I got the timeline all right, because there were so many different timelines like about this story, right? So the family is defending their property. They're all scared. They must have jumped into multiple cars, right? Because there's 11 of them. And
Or
they
maybe
drove.
the Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh,
That's the
maybe they had a
vehicle I
pickup truck.
picture they all jumped in.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
one of the versions I saw was they all hopped into one vehicle.
Yeah, so maybe they got into a truck. So they go and now mind you, Billy Ray and the OP, they were just friends. They were like carnies with one of the guys, so they were just like visiting this
No
family.
Mhm.
way.
I was like, one of the stories had to like insert that in there. So they rushed to Hopkinsville, which is like the next town over where the police department is, and they all go rushing in, and it says that they're like completely frantic. They're all pretty hysterical. And they get there at about 11 p.m. So it looks like it was 8 adults and 3 children. Now, they proceed to tell their story to the deputies or police officers that were there. And one of the reports was typed up and put in one of these links that I'm gonna put for everybody to see, but I'm going to read what part of this report said. Now, names were redacted out of this, but it I don't know why they redacted it and then tied it with this story, but by redacted I mean there's just some look like pencil or marker went through some of the names, but you can kind of make out what the names are underneath. But it says, my name is blank, age 50, and I live at, and then it lists the address, Hopkinsville, Route 6 in Kentucky. On Sunday night, August 21st, 1955, about 10:30 p.m. Now, mind you, the reports was that they strolled into the police department at 11 p.m., all hysterical. So that timeline's important, because I would wonder how long it took them to get from their house like to have this shootout and then get in their car and get over to the police department. Anyway, I was walking through the hallway, which is located in the middle of my house, and I looked out the back door and saw a bright silver object about 2.5 feet tall appearing round. I became excited and did not look at it long enough to see if it had any eyes or moved. I was about 15 or 20 feet from it. I fell backward and then was carried into the bedroom. My two sons, aged 25, and his wife, blank, aged 29, her other son that was 21 and his wife was 27, and their friends that were 21 and 18 were all in the house and saw this little man that looked like a monkey. About 3:30 a.m., I was in my bedroom and looked out the north window and saw a small silver shining object about 2.5 feet tall that had its hands and then it's kind of cut off it there. So so this report must have been done the next day, obviously. But she's saying that it was about 10:30 PM that she saw all this. All that other stuff had to have happened before this. So maybe like when they came back is when they decided to like run to the police department. I don't know. But here's what the police chief had to say about it. And this was from history.com. Direct quote, it says, "These aren't the kinds of people who normally run to the police for help," Police Chief Russell Greenwald later told investigators. "What they do is reach for their guns. Yet here they were, women and children, hysterical, and one man with a pulse of 140 beats a minute measured by an investigator." So I don't know why they're taking pulses at this, but maybe like they just thought the person was hysterical, so they were just checking them out. Now, one interesting thing to know is that no alcohol was allowed in the house, so they said nobody was drinking. Um, and so the police ended up going out to the house, couldn't find anything. They found torn screens, broken glass, according to some reports from the bullets flying, but didn't find any evidence of any bodies or any of the goblins or anything like that. And then one of the stories say that the next morning the family just like up and disappeared, never to be seen or heard from again. But in another like reputable site, I guess, for information, it said, this is a direct quote, in the following days after, radio stations and newspapers, including the New York Times, reported the incident. Hundreds of curiosity seekers descended on the farm, often ridiculing the Suttons as ignorant or fraudulent. When no trespassing signs proved useless at discouraging the people, the family tried to charge admission, 50 cents for entering the grounds, $1 for information, $10 for taking pictures. And after that, that's when skeptics blasted them as fortune-seeking fabulous. And apparently this is when the military or like Project Blue Book denounced it as a hoax. They felt just because of this monetary value that or monetary thing that started to happen after that. So police officers had went out, and I think the next day, and there's a nearby military base, and some military individuals as well went through there. And again, they couldn't find anything. Now, a couple of things that they said was one of the accounts was like, they were hitting these things with bullets, but it was like ricocheting off of them. But then one of the reports was, I think it was Billy Ray said he had seen like a luminescent type of like oh, here it is, an odd luminous patch along a fence where one of the beings had been shot and in the woods beyond, and a green light whose source could not be determined. But a ufologist, Jerome Clark, says that this description was consistent with something called foxfire, which is a bioluminescent fungus on decaying wood. I did look up to see if foxfire was something that was common in Kentucky, specifically this area of Kentucky. And the results that I got said, although it may not be visible on any given night, the environment in Kelly, Kentucky, which is a small rural hamlet surrounded by woodlands, is suitable for the fungus to thrive, making it a common potential explanation for unexplained lights in the woods. So there's lots of things to kind of like debunk, but the most notable things was that all 11 people, their stories matched up really well. Like everybody like talked to people and like and they were frantic, they were very scared. Everybody told pretty much the same story. They went back home and after investigators checked everything out, they came back at 3:30 a.m. They said there was like more of them out there, and they just couldn't find any evidence of them. In a nutshell, that's like the short story. And I know all of you guys did your own little research into it. So I'd love for you guys to jump in and kind of add to the knowledge of things that you found today. So that's kind of right. Oh, and just to note, one of the descendants of that family, so like one of the sons of this lady, one of the Sutton boys, his daughter, her name is Geraldine Sutton Stith. She actually does speaking engagements about this to keep the family story going and to like provide accurate information because there's been so much misinformation put out about these stories and so many conflicting stories. Um, so she's written a couple books about this called the Kelly Greenman Alien Legacy Revisited. And then there was another one called Alien Legacy that she wrote. She claims it's true. She interviewed people in the family. She talked to all the people that were involved and kind of told their story and keeps the story living on. So jump in, guys. What do you think?
Fake.
Really?
Mhm.
Think it's fake?
I think they're trying to hide something. My mind goes to a still somewhere on the property. They were trying to cover it up. They want
Ooh,
somebody
I
to
like
find
that.
it, something like that. They did make point in. Sounds like we may have watched the same thing, possibly. I went on YouTube and watched a couple different, I don't know, shows or
Yeah, I
whatever,
didn't
whatever
watch
you would call
anything.
it.
I did
Oh,
all
you didn't?
reading for this.
Because yours
Yeah.
sounded like almost exactly what I was watching. So
Oh, yeah, no,
verbatim, it sounded
I
exactly.
did all reading on this. I
Okay.
didn't watch any videos.
Well,
Because they had
from
said that the one guy was like a prankster, and they thought that sounded like something he would do, but he wasn't the first guy that was out there to see it. He was back in the barn, so it wasn't like he was the initiator of the whole thing, but he was the second one out there. But I mean, it's the 50s, so I mean, who knows what was going on there? But they want to do this whole thing. Well, everybody's story was identical. There's no possible way they could have done that. Okay. I mean, it could have been all premeditated. It could have been something they all planned out ahead of time for some type of reason, unbeknownst to us. And it wouldn't be that hard to get everybody on the same page if they had time to plan it. Everybody's assuming that it was a spur of the moment thing that happened, and everybody, then this just happened. Everybody had, oh man, they all got the same story. It must be real. I don't know. I have a hard time buying that. I mean, for the fact that there was a meteor shower, so there was something in the sky, and the police officers even said they saw that when they were out. They saw that in the sky. So I mean, probably doesn't take much for somebody to see that. In the 50s, it's all about aliens and UFOs. I mean, it was all new type. That was a big thing back then, bigger than now almost. I guess now we kind of just we hear about it. I think everybody has come to accept the fact that at least our group, I would think that there's more out there than just us. Okay, it's naive for us to think that nothing else exists. So whenever you hear these stories about UFOs or whatever it may be, it's easier for us to, with all the technology and all the reading material and all the stories and everything that we know about, to say that we just want to know more about it. We're not calling it fake. We're not calling it a hoax. Not all of them. Okay, but I don't know. This seems like they were trying to hide something. It was odd that they were the only ones that saw it. When the police went out there, they couldn't find anything, like you said, except for uh, evidence of the shootings that they shot at stuff. But there was no evidence of any creatures or anything. Yet when the cops left, then they said they saw him again. I don't know. I have a hard time with that. So
Some ufologists, like even popular ones, like kind of really revere
well, that
this telling of what's happened, especially having like still people alive that were, you know, like one degree of separation from who it happened to, like, that interviewed family members. So yeah, I don't know. I find that I
well, I
just
mean, if your family member's telling you this, you're probably more inclined to believe it because it's your family. Just
Yeah.
like any of us, if there was something that happened that was like this or whatever, or even if it was something maybe more closer to home, like mobster stuff, Al Capone's,
Yeah.
stories from back then. If your family tells you these things and they were passed down, you kind of believe what
Yeah.
your family. You have no, unless you have a reason not to. You kind of believe the
Right.
stories your family tells you, regardless of what anybody on the outside
Yeah.
thinks about it. Okay, so
To be fair, unless they tell us that a ghost burned a hole in their couch, and then we call bullshit immediately. So we gotta.
there you go.
There is that.
Speaking from familial experience.
Yeah,
I mean,
he.
I think I'm a pretty good bullshit detector.
Yes.
I like.
Yeah.
I mean, but maybe I'm a little more level headed, and I just kind of accept that there's a lot of bullshit out there, and
Mhm.
maybe because of what we do, we like evidence, we like proof, we like all that
Mhm.
stuff, and it's easy for us to be skeptical about it until we have all that information. So just on the surface, sometimes a lot of things look like bullshit to us. So
Everything I seen said the same story. And I'd seen where there was a lot of UFOologists or whatever you call them debunked it. A lot of them didn't seem to agree with it. And to me, it's just, yeah, they seen it. There was no evidence. There's really nothing like, there's really no like cover up or anything to me, or anything that would be covered up.
Right.
Um, it's an isolated incident that is only, this certain group of, you know, well established, highly educated Opies and Billy Rays and stuff seen. So I don't know. I watched there was a video from 2023 out there that it's a surveillance camera. It shows this weird little white thing walking through a parking lot, and they tried to tie that to it,
That was a
but
Yeah.
person in an outfit.
it was pretty much debunked, and it wasn't even the original video. It was a video of the video, which is a common way to hide um, things when you edit it. So I didn't like, when you have the UFO stories where supposedly these people were working at Area 51 or a military base, and you have military people
Mhm.
involved, and even if there's some loose ends in it, it's more interesting and more believable. But to me, this is just this one isolated incident. He didn't even trying to find more modern stories or newer sightings of the goblins. They don't exist.
Yeah, I guess it was like only seen around that time. Now, there's been a couple people in more recent years that have tried to tie it to sightings that were similar in other parts of the world, but I couldn't really find much on that.
Was
I
this
think
the what is that, Appalachia? Right?
Yeah,
yeah,
Ed?
Appalachia. Yeah.
Are we near that area?
Yeah, so
yeah.
that's the area that it is. That's
All right.
considered.
Wasn't there some other aliens in that area that were supposedly in metal suits that were hovering, that were seen somewhere in that area too? Completely different story though. So when heard that, because it talks about one they believed was flying and they were in these metal suits or whatever, I was like, well, maybe there's a connection, but nobody even brings that up. So
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot out there, and based on the information that's out there, it this was another thing, right? They were there, they seen him, they go tell the police, nobody finds anything, the police leave, they see him again, so they take off. Did they owe money on that property and they just wanted to get out of paying it? So they
Oh,
abandoned the house.
the Amityville Gambit.
Yeah.
Well, they did well, so that some reports said that they did disappear, but then later the
You said
like
you
that.
talked the daughter writes books, so they didn't disappear.
Right, like, there's still she was born in that same town, and she's, like, probably around our age or whatever. She was born in that same town, and if they were charging fees to like come take pictures or to talk to them or go be on the grounds, and obviously they stayed there for a while. So like that's like I said, like a lot of the accounts were convoluted, and initially I think it was only a few of them, and then over time like news stories started adding more like a dozen of these goblins were running around, but initially I think they said there was only a few of
Yeah, and
them.
there's
Two
no
to
photo
five. Yeah.
evidence, and I feel like with the amount of information, the one story. It changes a lot. This is probably why you don't really hear about it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm just
One
so shocked I didn't hear about it before
one of the
now.
things I watched or whatever said that there was they were talking about loosely connected to the Mothman, and
Oh,
They
something
were
about
baby Mothmans.
all the cave systems and mines and stuff in Kentucky that all connect together that run through a majority of the state.
yeah.
They were talking about how that they could be hiding in there, and that's how they're seeing some like Rob is talking about too. And there's stories loosely connected here and
Yeah.
there. And like I said, even one of them said something about being connected with Mothman somehow. But
Well, and I mean, some of them are even saying maybe they weren't extraterrestrials. Maybe they are an evolved
Living in those tunnels.
species
right,
from the tunnel, from the mountains, like the Mammoth Caves run through there. So they think that it's more of an evolved species down there. But um,
That was another thing they talked about on the video where they had the surveillance video, that thing moving through the parking lot, is that they probably wouldn't be walking upright, being in the caves and trying to duck down and get through smaller areas. They would probably evolve to be on all fours.
oh yeah, maybe that would make sense. Although some of the caves are rather big. I mean, but many of them are unexplored down there. A lot of the cave systems down there.
Field trip,
Yeah, right.
hell yeah.
going splunking.
I want to go spelunking where there's like, people have been there before. There's an
Mm.
escape plan.
No, 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 no. We live dangerously
Not for me.
to to get to the bottom of the stories, to get the facts.
Right.
Sacrifice the body, guys.
I'll wait outside and you guys go on in and I'll send you with a walkie.
I'm wearing shorts today. I too like to live dangerously.
I wear
Oh, and
shorts
it
every
got to
day.
35. It was 35 degrees this morning. Yeah. You're a typical Wisconsinite.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I was trying to follow the storyline and I was, kind of paying attention, and there were lights in the sky, and then there were these creatures that showed up, and the two guys were trying to ward them off by shooting them and all these things. And what kind of surprised me was the reaction of the law enforcement. I really do think that the people were genuinely freaked out. So I was trying to figure out, okay, what could have freaked them out that badly that wouldn't have been something, extraterrestrial or goblinish. And the only thing I could think of is you've got how many people that are trapped in this little small area without any means of really communicating, no running water. They're in this very secluded area, and they've got these two guys that are just completely freaked out, and they're shooting guns and everything else. I would imagine that that would probably freak out just about anybody. Plus, they've got the kids there, and the kids are probably freaking out. So the law enforcement reacted as if it could be plausible, it could be something that really happened. And so they went and investigated, and they found nothing. The version I saw said that they'd been trying to fight off these goblins for 4 hours,
Yeah, I
and they're
heard that. Read that.
finally going to the police. And so the police are sending all help and going over and checking it out, and they can't find anything. And then when the police left, the goblins came back. And I
Right.
say
They're
bullshit.
smart
I don't
goblins.
think that they were, actually waiting for the law enforcement folks to go away to be able to come back. But something freaked those people out. I do believe that they were probably really, really scared genuinely when they
Mhm.
got to the law enforcement area. So I don't believe that it was goblins, but I do think that something really scared them. Could have been an animal, could have been a different type of animal, but I'm not
Sasquatch.
really falling for the goblin thing.
Yeah, because they did say that one person, a couple people in that area had said that they could have mistaken it's a horned owl, I believe.
Yep.
And I guess they have like kind of glowing yellow eyes and at nighttime.
But you
Um,
can't. You're not going
so
to shoot them. They're going to whirl backwards.
so
So I mean,
yeah,
that's like the whole story's like that. Some of it seems plausible, but then when you start to think about other things that you go, well, maybe it was this. Well, then this part of the story doesn't make sense.
oh yeah, exactly.
I actually have seen these goblins,
Oh,
and I
Oh,
actually was smart enough to take out my phone. Why these idiots in 1955 just didn't take out their cell phone and get a picture of it instead of all the talkie yappy yappy. Um, so I sent those to you, Gina,
Oh,
in an
yeah, let me
email. So when you get those, would you mind sharing the screen so everybody can see?
sure. Yeah, let me do that. Did you text him or email him?
I both. I
Okay.
just emailed them because I thought that might be easier for you to be able to share them. I couldn't believe it as I'm watching. So what I watched in the meantime, while you're looking for that,
Mhm.
um, so what I watched, it was a two-part, really good telling of the story. It's on a channel on YouTube called Bedtime Stories. Um, it looks like somebody does illustrations while somebody's narrating what the story is, and they do two parts to this because the second part actually focuses on a guy in 2012 who claimed that he had the same thing. Yep, there they are. There are those guys. Ah, it's scary. Where's my shotgun? I need my 22 and my 12 gauge. Oh shit! Look at the eyes. Oh god. Oh, it's
What is
scary.
that movie? The Fourth Kind?
Ah,
We
oh
we need to review that movie, I think, or we need to have an episode about that movie actually. But anyway,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead. So this
So
is you holding the
that
owl?
is, no, that is not me holding the owl. That is a lovely group called Skedaddle, and at the school that I worked at last year, back in our tree line, we got a report that it looked like there was some owls on the ground, and there was one owl on the
Oh.
ground. We had a nest, unbeknownst to us, of greater horned owls. Um, so we saw the first one on the ground, and as we see the first one there, we hear something falling out of the tree, hitting every branch on the way down. Thump, 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 boom,
Oh.
boom, 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 bam, and it hits the ground. That's that guy right there, the guy on the left, him.
Uh-huh.
So he hits the ground. So we're like, oh no, and he pops up and he shakes it off, and he like waddles over to the other one, and then we call the group who came and took care of it. They were very excited. They said that it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to handle greater horned owl babies in the wild like that. But as you
Aw,
can see in those pictures, you can see just how big their talons are, and that's a baby.
huge. Yeah.
When you see the leather glove holding those feet, and I mean that's a baby, and just by looking at those, I go, they saw some owls. I think multiple things can be true. I think that they saw something in the sky that night, and then because he's freaked out about seeing that, he then goes back out there, sees some horned owls in the woods, sees their eyes glowing, sees the big ears, and freaks out and thinks that it's something that fell out of the sky. Then one of the guys says that, it reached down and tried to grab his hair. I go, yeah, you'd freak out too if a greater horned owl reached down and tried to grab your hair because you guys are, fucking around with them. Uh, so all that made sense to me. So I think both things are true. I think it was owls that they saw. They were freaked out. Um, and I don't think there's much more to it than that. I mean, everybody had the same story. Well, sure, you had two people who came inside of a house with, nine other people and is saying what's happening. So for all the other people who are
Exactly.
there, it's happening for them too. They're not
Right.
witnessing jack shit, but they're being narrated to them what's happening. Ergo, it's a real experience for them, even though if you were to ask them what they witnessed, they would repeat back what just has generally been happening around them. So I
Yeah.
don't put much stake in that. Uh, I really wish that we had more information, or if you guys had seen anything about the guy in 2012, because that story was actually kind of interesting because that motherfucker's full of shit too. He was just trying to hoax it up. Uh, in 2012, a quick overview. So in 2012, um, first, Amy, I sent you those links to the YouTube videos that I was talking about. So if anybody does want to see those, Amy will put those down below.
Okay.
Um, because they do a pretty good job of laying out what happened in 2012. But there was a Dr. David. so and so. I can't find his last name on here on the AI overview.
David
Um,
Bruce Banner.
no, unfortunately, no. Dr. Banner, no. Um, so this doctor reaches out to a paranormal investigator, not unlike ourselves. Somebody who had a group. It was called like Paranormal Inc. or something. I forget what it is. It says it in the YouTube video. I'm not going back to it now. Um, but anyway, so this doctor reaches out to this paranormal group. He's explaining his story that he just moved to Hellier or wherever it is where it's taking place, and he's been having these disturbances in the middle of the night. That his daughter says that there's kids outside playing and they're bald, and you know just goes through this whole story is pleading for this guy to help. He's talking about paying for his accommodations and flying him out. So the paranormal investigator responds back and asks for more detail and asks to send, some evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, the guy does send something back like a month later, and is says that he had left the house because they were so scared. Um, but he came back with his brother, and his brother really didn't believe it, but he does now because they saw him the other night, and then he took pictures of the prints that they made, and that was the last that the paranormal investigator ever heard from him again. It was a very strange story. It was really weird. It sounded like a bunch of bullshit. Um, so I thought that it was an interesting aside. I was hoping everybody else would have seen it because you
I
know how I
didn't,
like to
yeah.
dog on people that try to pull that bullshit. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to this Kentucky Goblin. It's no hodag. I'll say that.
We talked about the hodag before. I think Rich went over some of the uh,
We've seen him
weird.
in
Yeah,
person.
we've
Yeah,
actually
we've seen him in person.
seen him multiple
Oh,
times.
oh, that's
He's
right. You
everywhere in
guys
that
went up
damn city.
north. You went to the museum, and they had a hodag.
Statue. He's at the Pizza Ranch. He's everywhere.
Oh yeah, he is at Pizza Ranch. You see him
Mhm.
everywhere. He's on every sign up there.
Yeah, he's very important up there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
I
one of
like
the
Pizza Ranch.
what'd you say?
I like Pizza Ranch.
Yeah, it's good.
I've never been to Pizza Ranch. I've seen
It's
them,
just
but
a
I've never.
buffet.
I was there once,
Good.
but at the suggestions of Mister Dirk Diggler there.
Dirty
Told
Dom.
us that. Who?
Dirty Dom,
Oh,
man.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Everybody go over to Wrestling with the Realm and see our shorts. You can see me for Halloween. You can see what the
Nice.
stash is all about.
Nice. But it was good. I liked the Pizza Ranch. But when you walk right in, there's a big old picture of him right on the wall.
Yep.
Right there.
Celebrity.
It wasn't Rhinelander, so I mean, I'm sure not every Pizza Ranch has the hodag in there. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doubt it.
I don't know.
Well, one of the things that they like the granddaughter of the property owner, she's pretty adamant that the family was being honest and of course like you said they seen something. Like
Mhm.
obviously they had seen something enough that they went to the police because like, apparently this lady, she was a widow and she wasn't somebody that liked to get a lot of attention, so it wouldn't have been like her to like go and seek out the police and try to give this elaborate story. So I believe something happened. What, I don't know. And yeah, you can get really freaked out. Like I mean, being in the woods late at night, and especially Appalachia is rich with history of like lore and mystery and all things paranormal, and people have been afraid of those woods for a very long time, right?
Mhm.
And in one of the things that I had read, it was that supposedly, and I couldn't find anything to corroborate this just yet, but I kind of ran out of time finding stuff. But apparently, Native Americans that were in that area had reported seeing
Mhm.
have reported seeing similar things in their history or their lore or their stories that they had passed down. So I just found that interesting. So what they saw, who knows?
You know,
I just for me, it would just be, like, really hard, I guess, to I couldn't imagine being, like, an author and, like, keeping a story going that if I, didn't fully believe it. So, I don't know. I just put it out there that I mean,
mm,
obviously, like you said, something happened somewhere
right,
and we just don't have enough of this. There was only
right.
one event of this time and like you were saying, Rich, in the 50s, like sci-fi was, you know, really kind of a pretty big
Yep.
thing at that time. I
Mhm.
mean,
That's where all the fame. That's where all the famous, all those sci-fi movies started out.
Well,
Came
they
from.
yeah,
were, yeah,
Y-
they were still in the wake of the Roswell incident too.
Yep.
sure. I mean,
yeah.
you had all those movies that were black and white. The Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, the Martians. I mean, you name it. You had, uh, I go to Disney World. Here's my example. Go to Sci-Fi Cafe. That's all they play the whole time on the screen in there are all
Right.
old sci-fi movies, and you can just sit there and watch them. And all the things that are on there that are fear mongering, so to speak. Everything that you're afraid of. That's what they made the movies about. And that they're trying to to scare you.
Right. And I
Um,
mean, 20 years before that, War of the Worlds was radio
sure,
broadcast and aired, and
yeah,
people thought that that was like
sure,
actually happening,
sure.
And
Yep.
I mean, so
Wait, it didn't?
Well, that's right
I'm
now.
sorry to hurt your feelings. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
but
listen. This is just these are our opinions on the
right.
story. Like you said, I'm sure something happened. I'm sure they saw something, but
Yeah.
our just from what we know about this, our these are our opinions. Just like if I saw something that I truly thought I saw something weird, and I told you guys, there's a bone in your body that would believe me because I said it. But you'd also want proof, okay?
Yeah.
And that's I think where we come up with where we're saying what we're saying about this story is there's just not a lot of proof. There's a lot of story, a lot of hearsay, and a lot of this person said that they saw this, and like Brian said, you had two people that really saw it, came back and told everybody. Well, we know how that game of telephone works. You start to tell people stuff, and before you know it,
Yeah.
you know. So I mean, did they see something? Sure. I believe it was like Brian said. It was probably multiple things
Yeah.
that led them to either truly believe what they thought they saw, or they saw a couple things and then started to embellish a story.
Yep.
That
Look, in the beginning of Back to the Future, Marty McFly goes back to 1955. He
Oh,
winds up in a barn, and because he's wearing his radiation suit,
that's
they
right.
come out and they take a look at him with that door open on that DeLorean, and the kid has the comic book in his hand. Well, what's he gonna think? He's not gonna think that it's poor Marty McFly from 1985 unknowingly going back in time. He's gonna think it's the alien guy.
Yeah.
right? Yeah, the DeLorean
You
didn't.
know, you see something in the sky, and then you go outside, and then you see some glowing eyes. You're already going to be on kind of high alert, and you're going to be more susceptible to that because not everybody is as discerning as we are.
We're so discerning.
We are very.
Well, I can say that these Hopkinsville goblins, Kentucky goblins, they're known by many names, the Little Green Men. They actually inspired quite a few things in Hollywood. So some of the more notable is there was a movie that was actually an unproduced science fiction horror film from Steven Spielberg called Night Skies. And that was directly based on the Hopkinsville incident. The movie Critters, the
Mm-hmm.
1986 comedy horror film, was loosely based on the event.
Yeah, I can
All
see that.
right.
E.T. While this film is often connected to the Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter due to the alien aspect, some sources suggest the connection is indirect, but so there's like
Yeah.
conflicting, but some people think that it was influenced slightly from that story. Gremlins. They
I was
believe that.
waiting for that one because
Yep.
as you started talking, I'm like,
Yeah,
they kind of
yeah,
look like the gremlins after
yep.
Yeah,
you
they
fed them after
do.
I
midnight.
do. I
They do.
agree.
They
Yeah.
look very similar to that. So many people feel that that was directly influenced. There's also called Hellier, and a 2019
Mm-hmm.
documentary series that investigates the incident and other more recent sightings. So, what videos did you guys watch? Were they just random YouTube videos or?
Yeah.
No, Mine was the one that I watched was like something from a snippet from a History Channel show.
Yeah, we'll put all the links out there for this. So, well, so I guess we're all saying this did not happen then, right?
Not the way they say.
Yeah, correct.
Well, this was a great discussion. I learned something new. I had never heard of this before. So
It's fun.
hopefully we intrigue some other people to do their own research, take a look. There's quite a bit of information out there. Project Blue Book even mentioned it and talked about this. So, I mean, it was investigated. There was a lot put into this. So definitely go check things out if you're close to that area, or you know anything more, or you've heard any folklore from that area and want to share it with us. Send it to connectedrealm@gmail.com. That's connectedrealm@gmail.com. Stick with us this season. We got weird news on Wednesdays. We got full episodes every other Monday. And we just finished our Scaretober. So we did lots of horror movie reviews. So go back and check those out. We also have our spin-off series that Brian leads with his friend Will, Wrestling with the Realm. So make sure you go check that out there on YouTube. Show us some love. You can find us anywhere that you get your podcasts pretty much. And then our YouTube channel, Facebook page. I'm not great keeping up with Instagram. I just can't keep up with all that. But come show us some love. If you have any weird stories, any haunted locations you want us to look into, or just want to get in touch with the team, let us know. Want to buy a t-shirt, get a hold of us. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, stay weird, everyone. Ciao.
Big balls.
Bye.